Hello, guys. This is for class Monday, March 29th, and also Tuesday class for March 30th. There's only one lesson, one section tonight, and it's section 2.6, which is rational equations. And I'm pretty sure your algebra teacher started this with you last week, so hopefully it's just a review to, give you a little bit more confidence as you start solving these homework problems. So let's just do some examples together. All right, so when you have an equation, when you have an equal sign, you get to clear all of your denominators, okay? Then also when we talked last week about the restrictions, you can't ever let your denominator equal 0. So you don't necessarily have to find the restrictions separately in these math problems, but you do have to be aware of what they are, because if you end up getting an answer that is one of the restrictions, then you have to realize that you're not allowed to use that particular number. All right, so first thing we want to do is find a common denominator of all three terms. So I'm going to start with the longest one here, the quadratic. I'm going to think of two numbers. When I multiply them, I get -35, and when I add them, I get +2. So I know I'm looking for a positive and negative number. I know the biggest number has to be the positive, and I'm going to go with +7 and -5. And hint, it's usually these two that you already have put together, not always, but I would always start there and see if that combination works. And in this case, it does. So since this is going to be the least common multiple of all three terms, I'm going to multiply every single term by this common multiple. So I'm going to start with the top one. I'm going to put x plus 7 times x minus 5. And I'm going to multiply it by the first term, which is x over x minus 5. And then I'm going to bring that minus sign down. So then I'm going to rewrite x plus 7, x minus 5. And I'm going to multiply it by the second term, which is 8 over x plus 7. And then we're going to say equals, and we're going to say x plus 7, x minus 5 times x squared over x plus 7, x minus 5. That's a lot of writing, isn't it? All right, but basically what we do is we get to cancel out our denominators, because when we multiply this whole thing together right here, remember whatever's on the top and bottom you can cross out, so these cancel. So I'm left with x times x plus 7. All right, when I look at this second whole term, I'm going to cancel out the x plus 7s, and I'm going to end up with 8 times x plus 5. And then on the right side of my equal sign, I notice that everything cancels. So what am I going to bring down? Well, I'm going to use the distributive property. So x times x is x squared. X times 7 is 7x. And then I'm going to go ahead and distribute this right up here, because I see a minus sign right there, and sometimes that we mess up on this particular step. So 8 times x is 8x, and 8 times 5 is -40. Well, it's -5, isn't it? But then please remember, you have to subtract all of that. So basically I have to distribute that negative sign. So I'm going to write minus 8x, and then the opposite of -40 is plus 40. All right, so I dealt with all that. And now on the right side of my equal sign, the only thing I have left is x squared. All right, so since this is a quadratic, since I see an x raised to the power of 2, I know I got to get everything to one side of the equal sign and 0 on the right side of the equal sign. So I'm going to move this x squared to the left side, or at least I'm going to cancel it out. So that's gone. Well, actually what happens is this cancels also. See that? So now what do I have? I have 7x minus 8x is -1x plus 40 equals 0. Well, now I want to solve for x. So the opposite of plus 40 is minus 40. And then I'm going to bring down my negative x equals negative 40. If negative x equals negative 40, that means positive x equals positive 40. And that is what x equals. Now, I can check my answer by plugging in 40 for every one of these x's, and it would take me a little bit of time, but then I would be so sure that I got the right answer. So I'm just going to plug it in my calculator real quick. So I'm going to put as a fraction 40 divided by 40 minus 5 is 35 minus 8 over 47, and I get 320 over 329 on the left side. So I'm going to see if the right side gives me the same thing. So on a fraction, I'm going to put 40 squared over 40 squared plus 2 times 40 minus 35 equals, and guess what? I get the exact same answer. So since I get the same answer on both sides, that means I know without a doubt my answer is correct. So even though that takes a little time, if I was doing a test and I knew I wanted to get my answers right, I would take the time to check my answers. All right, so let's look at this problem. So we have 3 denominators, 2 of them are 2s and 1's a 4. So if I'm thinking about a 2 and a 4, my least common multiple is 4 because 2 goes into 4 and 4 goes into 4. So that means I'm going to take every single term and I'm going to multiply it by my denominator of 4. All right, so what happens over here on the left side of the equal sign? Well, both of my 4's cancel. Right here, this term right here, basically, I'm going to divide 2 by 2 and get 1, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. And then this last one, I'm going to do the same thing. 2 divided by 2 is 1, 4 divided by 2 is 2. So now, right here, all I have left is negative 1 over x, which is, negative x over 1, which is negative x, equals 2 times 1 is 2, plus 3 times 2 is 6. So I end up with negative x is equal to positive 8. If negative x is positive 8, that means positive x must be negative 8. And that one would be quick to check. I know that 1 half plus 3 halves is 4 halves, which equals 2. And then I'm going to do the opposite of x. Well, since x is negative 8, the opposite of x is positive 8. And I know that positive 8 divided by 4 is also 2. So I know those are equal and I know my answer is right. All right, now every single time you have only a fraction equals a fraction, no other plus 2 or minus 1. If you have a fraction equals a fraction, every time you see that, you're going to cross multiply. It's the easiest way to solve fractions times fractions. All right, so we're going to cross multiply. So I'm going to multiply 8x times x minus 1 equals 7x times x minus 2. And if I put this on the other side and brought this over here, it wouldn't matter. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter. All right, so now I'm going to distribute. So 8x times x is 8x squared. And 8x times negative 1 is minus 8x equals 7x times x is 7x squared. And then 7x times negative 2 is minus 14x. I want to get my, since first of all, I have a quadratic, that means I want all my terms on one side of the equal sign and a 0 on the other side. So I'm going to move both of these. Uh-oh, my battery's about to die, you guys. My battery's dying. Okay, I saved it. All right, so I want my 7x squared over here. And actually, I'm going to bring over this minus 14x to the left side also. So I'm going to just do it all at one time. And all of this cancels, so I end up with 0 over there. So 7x squared, 8x squared minus 7x is x squared. Negative 8x plus 14x is positive 6x equals 0. So now I want to say, okay, well, I can factor both of these. Can be, what can be factored out of both of those? An x, right? So x squared divided by x is x. 6x divided by x is 6. So I'm going to set both of those equal to 0. So my two answers would be x is equal to 0. So this is equal to 0. And then the other one is x plus 6 equals 0. So I'm going to subtract 6. And I see that x is also equal to negative 6. So x is 0 and negative 6. And then I'm just going to double check my, what's it called? Restrictions. So if I took this denominator, set it equal to 0, I would see that x is not allowed to be positive 2 or positive 1. And that's not what I got. So my answers are good. So always check those restrictions, you guys. All right, once again, we have a fraction equals a fraction. Now here, my only restriction is x is not allowed to be a 0, right? That's the only restriction I have. All right, so I'm going to cross multiply again. I'm going to cross multiply 5x times x plus 2 is equal to 6x times x minus 2. So I get 5x squared plus 10x equals 6x squared minus 12x. I'm going to move everything to one side. So I'm going to cancel out negative 6x squared. And the opposite of minus 12x is plus 12x. So all of this goes away. So I have negative 1x squared plus 22x equals 0. Once again, I'm going to factor out a, actually, I'm going to factor out a negative x, and I'm going to find out that I get x minus 11 equals 0. So one of my restrictions, negative x cannot equal 0. Well, look, my restriction is that it can't be 0. So this goes away. That's not one of my answers. My only answer is x equals positive 11, because I would add 11 to both sides. So I eliminated one of my answers, right? My other answer is okay, x equals 11. So if I put these in here, I'm going to say 11 plus 2 over 66, because 6 times 11 is 66. So 11, 12, 13. So I have 13 over 66. And then this would be 11 minus 2 is 9. And 5 times 11 is, 55. All right, let me see what is 13 divided by 66? It's 0.1969696. And what is 9 divided by 55? It's 0.163636. So those are not equal. So what did I do wrong? Oh my gosh, I factored out a 2. I don't know why I divided, where's my pen? I don't know why I divided this by 2, you guys. Oh my goodness. Did y'all catch that? I was supposed to just be dividing by x, but I divided 22 by 2 and got 11. So x is actually equal to 22. I had a suspicion that didn't look right. So let me try it again. All right, so what's 22 plus 2 is 24 over 6 times 22 is 132. 132. And then 22 minus 20 is 20. 20 over 5 times 22 is 110. Right? So what's 24 divided by 132? I get 0.18 repeating, and then 20 divided by 110 is, there we go, that's also 0.18 repeating. Okay, now they're equal, which means now my answer is right. Now, guys, I made a mistake, but if I hadn't have gone and checked my answer, I wouldn't have figured out that I had it wrong. So it was only by taking my answer and trying to see if these were equal to each other, I realized they're not. So it made me look at my work right here and realize, oh my goodness, why did I half this number? I shouldn't have. All right. So now I'm confident my answer is right because I just checked it. So that's a good lesson for all of us. I did that on purpose. No, I didn't. I didn't really. All right, so now we have two different denominators. So to get a common denominator, we're going to multiply those two together, which means that our common denominator is z minus 10 times z plus 9. I'm going to multiply that by every single factor. Write it again, z minus 10 times z plus 9 times our second term. And then finally, 1 times z minus 10 times z plus 9. All right, so right here, my very first term, I see that z minus 10 cancels. This second one, z plus 9 cancels. And then 1 times all of this is just all of this, right? So I'm going to use a distributive property. So I get 2z plus 18. All right, so since I see that minus right there, I'm gonna distribute up here and then use a distributive property right here, and so make sure I can distribute that negative sign. So I'm gonna do 3 times z is 3z. 3 times negative 10 is minus 30, but we're subtracting that. So we're going to write minus 3z plus 30. And then let's go ahead and FOIL this. Z times z is z squared. Z times 9 is plus 9z minus 10z minus 90. So z squared, these combine to get negative z minus 90. All right, so since I have that quadratic, and right here it's positive, I'm gonna move all this, after I combine like terms, I'm gonna move all this stuff over here, but let's combine like terms first. So 2z minus 3z is negative 1z. And then 18 plus 30 is plus 48. Equals z squared minus z minus 90. All right, so I'm going to add that 1z. I'm going to add it, and I'm going to subtract 48. So I'm going to add 1z, and then I'm going to, right? And then I'm going to subtract 48. All right, so I'm going to bring it over here. I have z squared. My z's right here actually cancel. And then I have negative 90 minus 48 is negative 138 equals 0. And then, let's see, I think I have to use a quadratic formula, right? Because technically, all right, so I have z squared. I don't have a z to the first power. So really my b is 0. And then minus 138. So am I going to have to use a quadratic formula? I think so. All right, so we're going to do the opposite of b, which is still 0, plus and minus b squared, which is 0, minus 4 times 1 times negative 138 all over 2 times 1. All right, so in my radical, I have negative 4 times 1 times negative 138 is 552. And then the square root of 552 is 2 square roots of 138. So I have positive 2 square roots of 138. And then I have negative 2 square roots of 138 over 2. So these 2's basically become 1's, right? So my answer is square root 138 and negative square root 138. All right, let me check my work. Let me see if this all is right. This seems like it's not going to be right, but maybe we'll surprise ourselves. Did y'all catch my mistake? Did I make a mistake, you guys? All right, let's see what it is. So 2 over 138 minus 10 minus 3 over square root 138 plus 9. Let's see if that equals 1. All right, I'm using my calculator. I'm going to do 2 over radical 138 minus 10 minus 3 over radical 138 plus 9 equals 1.09. Ooh, it's so close. It's really close to 1, you guys. I think that's the right answer. All right, let's try the negative 138. So I'm going to do in my calculator 2 over negative square root 138 minus 10 minus fraction 3 over negative 138. Uh-oh, dang it. Radical, oh, I messed that bottom one up. Okay, 3 over radical negative. My calculator does not like this at all. Negative 138 plus 9 equals 1. It's exactly 1. I can't believe those answers are right, but they are. And I know they're right because I just checked them. So guess what? Those are the right answers. Okay, if you say so. We're going with it. And I think those are straight from Hawks, you guys. So you'll probably see that question or one very, very similar to it. All right, so then I went to my open math and I got some of those problems. So we could, I mean, yours are going to be a little bit different. Probably the numbers are going to be just a little bit different, but you'll have problems very similar to all of these. So our least common denominator is going to be 5 times 4. So we're going to do 20 times 1 over 5x plus 20 times 1/4 equals 2, or 20 times 2. All right, so we're going to do 5 divided by 5 is 1 and 20 divided by 5 is 4. So we ended up 4 times 1 times x is 4x. And then 4 divided by 4 is 1, 20 divided by 4 is 5. So we're going to do 5 times 1 is 5 equals 20 times 2 is 40. Then we're going to solve for x by subtracting 5. So we have 4x is equal to 35. And then we would divide both sides by 4. And x is equal to 35 over 4. That should be the right answer. Just to check, I'm going to put in 1/5 times 35 over 4 plus 1/4, and I should get 2. And I did. I got exactly 2. So I know I'm right. All right, our only denominator is a, so that means we're going to multiply every term by a. So a times a is a squared, and then these a's cancel. So plus 24, and then negative 10 times a is negative 10a. Since I have a quadratic, an x squared or a squared, I'm going to move everything to one side. So I'm going to add 10a to both sides of the equal sign. And of course, there's no like terms over here. So I just get a squared plus 10a plus 24 equals 0. Then two numbers that add to give me 24, excuse me, multiply to give me 24, but add to give me 10 would be 6 and 4. And then I would take both of these, set them equal to 0, and then solve for a, and I get two answers. A is -6 and -4. So you would just type in -6, -4, and that would be your answers. All right. On this one, we're going to go ahead and use the distributive property first, and then we're going to look at our denominator. So 3/4 times x is 3/4 x. 3/4 times -1 is -3/4 plus 2 equals 2. So we see that our common multiples of 4. So we're going to multiply by 4, multiply by 4, multiply by 4, and multiply by 4. So these cancel and I get 3x. These cancel and I get -3. And then I get 4 times 2 is 8 equals 8. So I'm going to combine like terms. So I get 3x plus 5 equals 8. So I'm going to solve for x. So I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. So I get 3x equals 3 divided by 3 divided by 3, x equals 1. Well, that wasn't bad, was it? All right, on the right side, I got all kinds of denominators. So I'm thinking of the least common multiple of 2, 4, and 7. So I know 7's multiples are 7, 14, 21, 28. So that's what we're going for, 28. 28 can be divided by 2, 4, and 7. 28. Don't forget that little 5. And then times 28. All right, so 2 divided by 2 is 1. 28 divided by 2 is 14. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 28 divided by 4 is 7. I'm going to multiply those, and I'm going to get rid of that. 7 divided by 7 is 1. 28 divided by 7 is 4. All right, so I have 14 times 9k. 14 times 9 is 126k. 126k plus 7 times -7 is -49 equals 28 times 5 is 140. 140. And then I have minus, this little box is in my way, minus, let's see, 4 times -6 is -24. So I would have minus a -24. So I'm just going to do bam, bam, and get positive 24k. All right. And why did I do this? Oh, because it's a minus sign. Gotcha. Or it's a negative number. All right. So then we want to get our k's together and we want to get our whole numbers together. So let's subtract 24k from this side. Now I don't see a quadratic, which means our k, we want our k on one side of the equal sign by itself eventually. So this is 102k. I'm going to go ahead and write minus 49 equals 140. So that's gone. So the opposite of minus 49 is plus 49. So now I have 102k. That's gone, equals 140 plus 49 is 189. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 102. And k is equal to, my calculator will simplify that for me, 102 is going to be 63 over 34. Okay. Now, I would normally take the time to check that because it's such a crazy answer. I'm not going to take this time now to check it, but if you guys are going through this video and you're doing these problems, and if you see that I made a mistake, please let me know and I'll admit it. I make mistakes all the time. No one will be surprised, but hopefully that's the right answer. I'm not really sure. I think it is. All right, so now I see 3, 2, I see 2, 3, and 6. So I know that 2 will go into 6, 3 will go into 6, and obviously 6 will go into 6. But first, I'm going to distribute everything in these parentheses by 2 first. So 1 over 2x plus 1 over 3 is equal to 2 times 5 is 10 6x, and then 2 times negative 5 is minus 10. So I'm going to multiply by 6, multiply by 6, multiply by 6, and multiply by 6. Every single term, don't forget. All right, so 2 divided by 2 is 1, 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1, 6 divided by 3 is 2. My 6's go away. All right, so 1 times 3x is 3x, plus 2 times 1 is 2, equals 10 times x is 10x minus 60. All right, I want to get my x's together. And I would have 2 equals 7x minus 60. So I'm going to add 60 to both sides. And I get 62 equals 7x. I'm going to divide by 7. And that's probably simplified, I think. I'm sure it's simplified. It's almost 9, but not quite 9. 62 over 7. Yep, it's simplified. So like I said, you know, it makes us feel good when we get real pretty whole numbers, but we rarely do. I would take the time to check that, but I'm not going to right now, just for the sake of time. But if you see a mistake, please let me know. All right, let's look at the one on the right. So we almost have just a fraction equals a fraction, but since we have that plus 8, we can't just do the cross multiplication. So we are going to multiply every factor by 3. Oh, actually, it's not just 3x, is it? Do I have to do this? No, I don't have to do that. I'm just multiplying by 3x because x goes into 3x. Yep, so I'm just multiplying everything by 3x. I'm going to multiply this by 3x, and I'm going to multiply 8 by 3x. All right, so my x's cancel. So 3 times negative 10 is negative 30. My 3x's cancel, so I'll bring down my negative 5, and then x times 3x is 24x. I have x on the right side, so I want all my other numbers on the left side of the equal sign. So I have negative 25 is equal to 24x. Divide both sides by 24, and x is equal to negative 25 over 24. And that's what x equals. All right, I think this is the last one I copied on here. All right, so once you have this long quadratic, see if these other two numbers, these other two expressions multiplied together equals this, and it does. So I'm going to use x minus 1 times x plus 3, because if I multiply 3 and negative 1, I get negative 3, but when I add 3 and negative 1, I get positive 2. So I'm going to write that common multiple for every term. So I'm going to multiply it by x plus 1 over x minus 1. And then I'm going to do equals x minus 1 times x plus 3 times negative 7 over x plus 3 plus 8. You know, all that stuff cancels, so I'm just writing 8. But it would cancel. If I multiply this by that cancels, and that cancels. So this is just 8, okay? Trust me. All right, so let's get rid of that, those factors. Let's get rid of these factors. So what do we have now? We have this, so we're going to have to FOIL those. So x times x is x squared. X times 1 is 1x plus x times 3 is 3x. So 1x plus 3x is plus 4x. And then 3 times 1 is plus 3. And all of that equals -7 times x minus 1. -7 times x is -7x. -7 times -1 is plus 7 plus 8. All right, so we have our quadratic over here. Let's combine like terms. -7 plus 15. Whoops, that's an x. So now we're going to add 7x to the other side. And we're going to subtract 15 from both sides. So that all cancels and we end up with 0. So we have x squared. 4x plus 7x is 11x. And then 3 minus 15 is -12 equals 0. Are there two numbers that multiply to give us -12 and add to give us 11? I think that would be +12 and -1. Uh-oh, I already see a problem right here. You see it? All right, so when we thought about, if I had thought about our restrictions originally, one of the restrictions would be that x cannot equal +1, and we're about to get an answer of +1. The other restriction is x cannot equal -3. So when I said x plus 12 equals 0, we're good, because I would subtract 12 and I would end up with 12x equals -12. However, if I said x equal 1, -0, and I add 1, I would get another answer of 1. Well, if you put that in MyOpenMath, it's going to tell you you're wrong, because +1 is a restriction. So that goes out the window. The only answer is x is equal to -12. And if you put 1, if you plug 1 right back in here for this one and this one, you would get a denominator of 0, which is undefined. So you got to check your restrictions, you guys, even if it doesn't tell you too specifically, you need to know whether the answers that you get are acceptable or not. All right, that's it. So that's Monday and Tuesday's lesson. So hopefully that's not too difficult. So I'll see you guys for class on Monday, or you guys in the Tuesday class, I'll see you Tuesday. And you guys have a great day.